The college I was going to, I was actually living in the countryside. So I lived like that for about 8 months or something. It was just horrific. And all the time what I was doing was sending in submissions into any magazine I could find. There was The Warlord and The Victor and all those comics back then, plus 2000 AD, which seemed the best bet because it was very steady work and it was out every week and it paid pretty well. And I actually wrote probably faster than I've ever written since because I was so hungry. The best writing's done on an empty stomach. And what I did was I went up to the library. I couldn't afford a typewriter. I went up to the library, used their typewriter and wrote a story a day and just sent it into 2000 AD. And after about 6 months of them getting these letters, and I paid for the stamps with my unemployment benefit, eventually they said, look, if you stop sending us something every day, we'll buy stuff from you. Just send us one a week, And it was just through browbeating them I eventually sold my first stuff.
With Mark Millar, it's just series like Wanted and Chosen, which had some people in America up in arms. The whole point of the story was at the very end you find out it's the Antichrist, not Christ. And Mark Millar went, well, it's a comic, it's a medium to tell a story. And it's just, I think he likes to court controversy, but at the same point tell a damn good story while doing so.
It's funny, a lot of people noticed that my work was political, and I genuinely didn't notice it, but when I look back, there is a through line running through all my stuff, whether it's either about religion or politics. And, the Superman, instead of landing in America in one of my stories, lands in the Soviet Union. The Bush administration take in all the superheroes under the Homeland Security idea and the Ultimates and use them to protect America as super soldiers. So there is this undeniable political thing in there, but I think it's because probably if I bring anything to comics, I'd say it's bringing the world we live into them. Like it's something I'm criticised for quite a lot, which is interesting. Like some readers will say, oh, this guy references the real world too much. And I always think that's an odd criticism, but it's something that hardcore old-time fans find a bit annoying. They prefer you to reference old-style comics. But I think one of the reasons my stuff sells so well, especially in the mainstream, is because people from the real world have got touchstones in it, So I don't do it consciously, but I'm very influenced by what I see on TV and what I read in newspapers, as opposed to maybe the comics that I grew up with.
My dad was a trade unionist, but Mark's, and so am I. And I think Mark's just grown up with those kind of values, And Red Sun I thought was one of his better ones too, because it was fascinating what would have happened if Superman had landed in another country with a completely set of ideals and system. I think it was one of his best.
It's interesting. It's not party politics or even kind of like ideologies that he's dealing with. It's kind of the broader strokes of his approach to being a human on the planet, and obviously that has to be interwoven with your politics on a personal level.
He uses the politics as groundwork so people have an idea of what the story is going to be about. He seems to have upset the church and American establishment, but ultimately he's telling a story, and if he uses politics, it's out in the real world. Why can't comics be used as a medium for it? And Millar takes it to that level.
Through the 90s I worked for Warner Brothers, DC Comics, and it never really kind of worked out great for me, and I went to Marvel in 2000, and that's where everything really happened. I went on and I sort of reinvented the X-Men there, and a lot of their more famous characters like Captain America and the Hulk, in a book called The Ultimates. But although these books were really big sellers, I found that my friends were getting more success really from doing their own material, and there's something really brilliant about working on your own characters. It not only pays better, but it's also more creatively rewarding. So although I was doing these huge selling books, there was just that little part of me missing kind of creatively. I really wanted to add something to pop culture as opposed to just playing with these characters that had been around for 40 years and lots of other people had done.
He's very clever, he's very skillful, but he also knows how to write, great action, great dialogue, great scenes, and very, very original, appealing and memorable storylines, and that's a huge thing. And I think Millar's, a real kind of a master craftsman when it comes to that. He really understands how to make comics work like films, but also work as comics. You'll see the impact of a large panel. The dialogue is always snappy. He uses flash forwards and flashbacks. He really understands the form.
So I started up a line of books called Millar World. And we've done 3 of them so far, and the very first of them, Wanted, was very quickly sold as a movie. It's a guy whose name I can never pronounce. It's something like Timur Bakhmamentov, who's a famous Russian director. This is his first English language picture, and they've signed up James McAvoy and Morgan Freeman and a couple of other really interesting actors for this. So I'm going out next week to have a look at it. I haven't seen anything on it, so I don't know how it's going to be. Hopefully it's good. Everything I'm hearing about it sounds good, and if it looks better than the book, then brilliant, I'll just take all the credit, you know.
Amazing. Not many people get to live their dream. And as I said, if you apply for a job at 7 or 8 years of age, and then you suddenly end up working for that company, that doesn't happen to many people.
The thing is, I'll be honest with you, I'm still smarting a little bit from him making me the devil incarnate and saviour. So what I want to do with Mark is, given the choices, I want to recast him. You know Ur Woolley, the little loser with the bucket, right? Okay, well he is a loser. And unfortunately Miller looks like him and he's about the same height as him. So I think we could recast it. It could be Ur Mark, Ur Berg or something. And he could have but his bucket is just a bucket. It's not even a magic bucket. And you know what? Everyone laughs at him for having his little bucket. It's Mark Miller's little sad bucket. It's not even matter of fact, it isn't even a bucket. You know what it is? It's like a tiny old empty pot of Marmite. That's what it'll be. Mark Miller's Pot of Marmite. And that's my new comic book coming to you from my own vanity press in the near future. See how Miller likes that.